Disclaimer: our videos are intended for entertainment purposes only. While we make an effort to include real facts and insights, much of the content may also contain speculative ideas, creative interpretations, dramatizations, or fictional elements. These videos are not meant to serve as a source of verified or official information. Please do not take the content as 100% factual or historically accurate. We encourage you to do your own research and form your own conclusions. Watch with an open mind and, most of all, enjoy responsibly. Imagine waking up one morning to find headlines screaming about a full-scale war between major world powers. Nuclear missiles on standby, alliances snapping into action, economies collapsing overnight. For decades, experts and media outlets have warned that World War III is just one mistake, one miscalculation, or one heated political decision away. And yet, despite the rise of new military superpowers, proxy conflicts around the world, and flashpoints in places like Ukraine, Taiwan, and the Middle East, the global war we all fear hasn't begun. But why? What is really holding it back? Is it diplomacy, fear, mutually assured destruction? Or is there something deeper, something most people don't realize? The truth is, the reason World War III hasn't erupted yet is not because the world is more peaceful or united. It's not because nations suddenly learned to love one another or gave up their ambitions. In fact, geopolitical tensions today are just as intense, if not more so, than they were during the Cold War. But the real reason lies in a complex web of fear, technology, economics, and, strangely enough, human psychology. This hidden network of deterrence is stronger than ever, and it has created a delicate balance that keeps the world hanging just over the edge but never falling into the abyss. Let's start with the most obvious reason: nuclear weapons. After the horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world realized that war had changed forever. The introduction of nuclear bombs meant any major conflict between superpowers would no longer be a conventional war. With boots on the ground, it would be a potential apocalypse. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, emerged during the Cold War as a strategic paradox. It meant that if two nuclear-armed nations went to war, both would be destroyed. There would be no winners, only widespread annihilation. This fear has acted like a giant brake pedal, forcing even the most aggressive leaders to pause and think twice before escalating tensions. But nuclear deterrence is just one piece of the puzzle. Modern warfare isn't limited to bombs and missiles anymore. We now live in an age of economic interdependence. Globalization has made economies so intertwined that launching a war today is like stabbing yourself in the chest to punch someone in the face. Countries like China, the United States, Russia, and the European Union rely heavily on one another for trade, raw materials, markets, and technology. A full-scale war would shatter these links, triggering financial meltdowns, global recessions, and political chaos. Leaders understand that even a so-called victory in war would likely be followed by economic ruin. That's why you see modern conflicts often play out in the form of sanctions, trade wars, cyber attacks, and propaganda campaigns rather than direct military engagements. For example, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Western nations didn't respond with tanks or troops. Instead, they responded with a barrage of economic sanctions, asset freezes, and support to Ukraine through military aid carefully stopping short of direct involvement. The message was clear. The cost of escalation is simply too high. Another massive factor is the rise of cyber warfare. Today, countries can bring another nation to its knees not by bombing its cities, but by hacking its infrastructure. Power grids, banking systems, hospitals, and transportation networks can be disabled with just a few lines of code. This has created a new battleground, one that is invisible, unpredictable, and devastating. But here's the twist. Because cyber attacks are so hard to trace, they make retaliation risky. No one wants to strike back blindly and spark a war with the wrong country. This ambiguity has actually created a strange kind of balance, where countries can attack one another in silence without pushing the world over the edge. The next layer is something we often overlook: public opinion. The people of today are not the same as those in the 1940s. We are more connected, more aware, and more vocal. A single video from a war zone can go viral in minutes, sparking outrage, protests, and political pressure. Leaders know they can't simply drag their nations into war without facing massive backlash from their citizens. Democracies, in particular, are tightly bound by the will of the people, and even authoritarian regimes now fear civil unrest fueled by social media. Let's not forget the role of modern diplomacy and international institutions. Organizations like the United Nations, NATO, and even regional alliances like ASEAN have provided platforms for dialogue, negotiation, and conflict management. While they may not always prevent wars, they do create roadblocks and delay mechanisms that give the world time to breathe when tensions rise. Behind closed doors, diplomats work day and night to cool tempers, diffuse misunderstandings, and keep channels of communication open even between rivals. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. Artificial intelligence and surveillance. We're entering an era where global powers can monitor each other's movements in real time, predict military actions before they happen, and even use AI to simulate outcomes of potential conflicts. This unprecedented visibility makes it harder for any one nation to launch a surprise attack or miscalculate intentions. With satellites, drones, and intelligence networks constantly watching, the element of surprise, a key ingredient in starting wars, has been dramatically reduced. And yet, even with all these safeguards, the threat of World War III still looms. Why? Because despite our advances in technology and diplomacy, human nature hasn't changed. Leaders still seek power. Nations still pursue dominance. Pride, fear, and ideology can still override logic. But that's where one more hidden factor comes in: proxy wars. Instead of fighting directly, world powers now fight indirectly. They fund rebel groups, support governments, and engage in local conflicts that act as testing grounds for new weapons and strategies. Syria, Yemen, Ukraine, and other hotspots have all become stages for these silent wars. While this is tragic, it also acts as a release valve, preventing larger wars by allowing tensions to play out on a smaller scale. It's an ugly strategy, but in the twisted logic of geopolitics, it's one that may have prevented the unthinkable. There's also a psychological phenomenon at play known as loss aversion. Simply put, people fear losing what they already have more than they desire gaining something new. This mindset is present not just in individuals but in nations. After decades of building economies, alliances, and power structures, countries are reluctant to gamble it all on a war that could erase everything in days. This mindset promotes caution even among the boldest leaders. And then there's the wild card: unpredictability. Unlike past centuries where war had a clear structure, today's potential world war would be chaotic beyond imagination. New technologies like hypersonic missiles, autonomous drones, and space-based weapons have added layers of uncertainty. Nobody really knows how a global war would unfold, and that uncertainty alone creates hesitation. When no one can predict the outcome, no one wants to be the one to strike first. So, what's the real reason World War III hasn't started yet? It's not just one thing. It's a combination of everything: nuclear deterrence, economic entanglement, cyber warfare, global surveillance, diplomacy, public awareness, loss aversion, and the chilling unpredictability of modern combat. These forces create a fragile but powerful balance, like a spinning top that teeters endlessly but never falls. It's not peace that protects us, it's fear, calculation, and cold hard logic. Yet this balance is not guaranteed to last forever. It depends on rationality. It depends on systems working as intended. It depends on leaders keeping their egos in check and avoiding missteps. One wrong move, one unexpected event, one unhinged decision, and the world could plunge into chaos. And that's what makes it so terrifying and so miraculous. Every single day that passes without World War III is a testament to humanity's ability to restrain itself, to adapt, and to survive. But it's also a reminder of how close we always are to the edge. The line between peace and devastation has never been thinner. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dive content on global issues, human behavior, and the hidden forces shaping our world. And while you're here, check out our other videos. We've got more thought-provoking topics that just might change the way you see the world.